We have so much breaking news to get to on This Is Now, coming to you from the brand new H&N Digital Center. Let's start with this. We have a live picture coming in, still developing right now. This is out of Florida. A wing of a condo building has collapsed here. It's 12 stories high in a town outside Miami.
Officials say nearly 100 people are still unaccounted for and at least one person was killed. Peter King has more from the city of Surfside.
Dramatic video shows the middle section of the condo building in Surfside collapsing first, followed by the section closest to the ocean. The air quickly filling with smoke and debris. 55 apartments gone in a matter of seconds.
Literally half of that building is not there anymore.
Now you can see 12 stories of exposed apartments. Air conditioners still clinging to the side, a bunk bed teetering on the edge. Bystander Nicholas Balboa was one of the first on the scene and helped save a child.
I was able to hear the boy that was pulled from the rubble yelling. As I got closer, I was able to see his hands sticking through the rubble, waving. He said that his mom was in there with him. His arm was pinned, just sheer panic.
Some residents unable to escape their intact apartments were rescued from their balconies. The governor says search and rescue teams are in contact with some survivors.
They are in search and rescue mode. They are trying to identify survivors. I know they have made contact with some, and they're doing everything they can to save lives.
Many of the condos here are owned by retirees who leave for the summer. The city's mayor tells us many people live here full time. Friends and family members of condo residents are gathering at a nearby reunification center and letting authorities know if their phone calls to loved ones have gone unanswered.
We've been calling them like nonstop, no reply.
Investigators are trying to find out what caused the collapse. Peter King, CBS News, Surfside, Florida.
All right, we have more breaking news coming into the H&N Digital Center. Sammy Salinas standing by on the west side with word on a downed aircraft.
Hey, Jonathan. Yeah, so this happened right after about 9 o'clock this morning when witnesses, they told me that they saw a single engine plane crash into the ocean. They said that they could actually tell that this plane was going down, and you can actually see behind me about where it went. You can't see the plane itself. It sank about 10 feet down, but the pilot was okay. They told folks that this actually was going to basically this plane was sinking. He managed to get out of the plane, and he managed to be able to get onto the reef where he walked out. So officials tell me that the man wasn't actually hurt. He actually refused to be transported. But this pilot, I should say, did have to navigate a lot. There were surfers in the area, and we'll actually be bringing you some of the quotes from the witnesses a little bit later in our evening newscast. But that's what we have right now. Jonathan, we'll take it back to you.
Thank you so much, Sammy. Now, happening right now, Governor Ige is holding a press conference with some of the county mayors. They're discussing new changes to the state's COVID rules on travel and gatherings. Let's listen in.
Economy and sustain our communities. Hawaii is nearing 60% fully vaccinated rate. We do expect to reach this mark on or about July 8th. That's 2 weeks from today. This means that we'll be able to safely relax some of the travel and social restrictions currently in place. So I am announcing today that effective July 8th, individuals traveling in the United States who are traveling domestically will be able to bypass quarantine and pre-travel testing requirements when traveling to Hawaii if they are fully vaccinated. Travelers must be able to upload their vaccination records into the state Safe Travels program. They must bring a hard copy of their vaccination record with them on their trip to Hawaii. I know that this change has been widely anticipated, and it will make it easier for residents to return home and for visitors to come and enjoy our islands. I want to emphasize, though, that those traveling prior to July 8th will be subject to the pre-travel testing program and subject to quarantine should they arrive here in the islands prior to July 8th. Also effective on July 8th, we will be increasing the number of people who may attend social gatherings. We're moving from a maximum size of 10 individuals indoors to 25 individuals indoors. And outdoors, we're going from 25 as a gathering size to 75 allowed outdoors for social gatherings. And beginning on July 8th, restaurants will be able to seat up to 75% of their capacity with maximum group size of 25 indoors and 75 outdoors. The statewide vaccination goals will not affect the county's COVID-19 policies. I know that the mayors will be looking at these targets and adjusting their policies as appropriate, but this change does not directly impact structured events, weddings, which are governed by the proclamations issued by each county. We were able to make this decision because of attaining the milestone of 60% in our community fully vaccinated. And we need to continue to encourage everyone to get vaccinated. You know, this milestone is truly something to celebrate. I think we all have been working hard. I appreciate everyone making vaccinations a priority for you and asking your friends and family members to get vaccinated. I really do want to thank all of the county mayors, the private sector, and other organizations who have really helped us to get the word out on vaccinations. You know, together we are much closer to protecting public health, re-energizing our economy, and strengthening communities. But I did want to add one thing. We are all very much concerned about the spread of variants in our community, especially in groups of people who have not been vaccinated. We are seeing that people who are not vaccinated continue to be vulnerable to serious illness and hospitalization and even death. There are very few COVID cases as we are announcing new COVID infections among those who have been fully vaccinated, those 2 weeks after getting their second dose of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, or those who are 2 weeks past their Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Almost every person getting infected with COVID today is unvaccinated. So getting a vaccine is very, very important. And we are working very hard to making getting vaccinated more easy and convenient. Today, there are over 400 sites to get vaccinated across the state, especially here in the month of June. I also want to remind you that June is Hawaii Got Vaccinated month. As you know, there are tremendous discounts and deals, drawings available for those who have been vaccinated. More than 230,000 individuals have registered for a chance to win some of these prizes at hawaiigotvaccinated.com. And we will be announcing 5 more prize winners tomorrow. They'll be winning airline miles, hotel miles, or points, round-trip airline tickets, hotel stays, and many, many other incentives to get vaccinated. And while incentives are nice, the most important thing is that the more our people are vaccinated, we will see better health outcomes, and we will get back to normal sooner. When we reach the fully vaccinated rate of 70% statewide, we will drop all COVID-19 related emergency restrictions. The Safe Travels program will end, and we will invite everyone to be able to travel to our islands. As I've said before, we are emphasizing today But all of this is subject to the monitoring by our Department of Health. We continue to look for variants. We continue to do the work to ensure the health and safety of our community. And we will take action as appropriate if necessary. But I do want to, again, thank everyone for the great job they've been doing to get vaccinated. We need to continue to advocate for those. If you have friends, family, or neighbors who are not vaccinated, please encourage them to get their questions answered. We've provided more resources for those questions most asked. We do know that as we get more people vaccinated here in the state of Hawaii, we will be able to drop the restrictions and get back to normal. So thank you so much for joining us. I truly appreciate everyone's efforts to keep our community healthy and safe.
All right, thank you very much, Governor. We'll go over to Kauai now, County of Kauai, and Mayor Derek Kawakami. Mayor?
Thank you very much. And thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor General Hara, Dr. Char, Dr. Kimball, the entire team for getting us to this point. You know, dealing with an ongoing disaster and challenge is an operation of art and science. And I want to thank the governor for really making the shift to having a hard date to give businesses time to acclimate to increased capacity. Not only do they have to adjust their ordering, if they're a restaurant, they have to be able to adjust their workforce to be able to handle the increased capacity. And one of the things we've heard from the business community is how challenging it is to be able to recruit new workers to be able to handle that increased capacity. So it does give them good predictability and lead time to make those adjustments. So I just want to thank my fellow mayors as well. Here on Kauai County, we're already adjusting to be able to be in sync with the state. We'll move into the next tier, which is tier 5, come July 8th. And I have a good feeling that as we turn the corner, we'll be able to cross the finish line together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Kawakami. Coming back to Honolulu now, and Mayor Rick Blangiardi. Mayor?
Well, good afternoon. I really don't have much more to add than what the governor said and what Mayor Kawakami has said, except just to say that 60%, as the governor said several times, is an important milestone for us. It is a great achievement by our community. I'm very grateful that our community has responded the way they have. I only hope that it would have come a little bit earlier in time for the 4th of July, but the 8th of July will be here before we know it, as the governor said, 2 weeks from now. And I do think it's very appropriate, and I'm grateful that we'll be able to give advance notice here so people can plan accordingly and we'll get off with it. And the last thing I will say is we have one more milestone, 70%. We want to do everything we possibly can to engage our community to get us there. As the governor pointed out, the people who are getting sick right now are the people who have not been vaccinated. We want to urge people to get vaccinated for many reasons, not the least of which is their own personal health. So with that, I'm very grateful that we're here today and on to the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Going over to Maui, Mayor Michael Victorino. Mayor?
Aloha and good morning, everyone. And I should say good afternoon. We crossed over. And I will echo the same sentiments that the other two mayors and the governor has said. I don't want to repeat it. I will say that this has been a great team effort, and all of us have put in a lot of time. Our teams on our islands, our groups, our executive groups, our nonprofits have all contributed a great deal. But the business community has been the forefront of all of this. They've been able to serve the visitors and residents alike in food service, in transit accommodations, and many other areas, retail, that really has made Hawaii and Maui County start to prosper somewhat, with some challenges, and we all know the challenges. You know, knowing that you're not vaccinated, especially the young ones who feel that they're invincible, that they don't have to worry about getting sick, is probably the worst thing that people can be thinking of right now. You should and must get vaccinated. It's very important, because not only like you protect yourself, as was mentioned earlier, you protect your family and your community. This is a team effort. Like, we are at the end of the tunnel. We see the light. We're at the home stretch. We're there now. Let's all work together. Let's unite. And like Mayor Blangiardi just said, get to that 70% plus. Let's get to 80%. Let's be the model for the rest of the nation as far as vaccinations are concerned. For those naysayers out there, check the medical facts, not the innuendos and accusations and inaccuracies that you find on social media. Let's do it right. I'm excited. Maui County stands poised, like all the other counties, to contribute and to be a big part of this change. And I am very pleased. And I want to thank the people of Maui County and the people of the state of Hawaii, all of the counties, all of the people who have done what was right, who have worked so very hard to make sure we're at this point. All our numbers are manageable. We had double digits today again, but it's not something that's insurmountable. Again, all of them, all of the 11 were non-vaccinated. So we have to start looking at that fact. So I want to thank you, Governor, again, Lieutenant Governor, Dr. Char, Department of Health, all of you for what you've done. Mahalo, and we stand ready to work with all of you. And Maui County will adjust also all of our rules. We will be sending in all adjustment to make sure we work in concert with you. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Mayor Victorino. Now opening it up to questions from our local media. Please raise your virtual hands if you have a question. Let us know who you're directing your question to, and remember that the mayors are joining us virtually. We'll go to Manolo Morales at KHON2 first. Manolo, go ahead.
Hi, this is for the governor. If we don't actually get to 60% by July 8th, does that mean we stay where we are? And I guess take us through what happens now that with the mainland travelers can get the vaccine exception. They will get their QR code before they get to the airport. And who's going to be checking them, and how is that all going to work?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question, Manolo. In talking with all the mayors, we all agreed that because getting to 60% would require changes across our state in every county, we wanted to set a date certain so that people could count on it. So regardless of what the actual vaccination rates are, and on July 8th, we are moving forward assuming that we get to 60% fully vaccinated by July 8th. I know that was because we've been talking with many businesses and others in the community. It's very important for them to be able to count on and plan. I think as Mayor Kawakami and Blangiardi had referenced, they do need time to get ready. In terms of the process of what would happen, just like what is happening today in Safe Travels, where a Hawaii resident travels to the mainland and is returning to the islands, they are required to submit their record of vaccination to the Safe Travels program. It does get verified. And our travel partners, the airlines, would be pre-screening upon departure, asking those traveling if they have an exemption, if they've taken a pre-travel test, or now if they are vaccinated, whether they've been able to upload that information into Safe Travels. And so that would be the process. I would like to give the other mayors an opportunity to respond to your question about July 8th and what happens.
Mayor Blangiardi, why don't you go first? Anything to add?
I feel very confident we're going to be there. I think it's almost a moot point. I think hopefully we'll even be there before then. We just need the community to continue to respond, but we're on pace to be easily able to be there by July 8th. So I don't think it's a matter of us coming up short.
Mayor Victorino.
Yes, I'm very confident too that we will be there. And again, Maui County is lagging right now, and I'll be very honest. We're upping our game in that in respects to vaccination. We're doing the vaccination here, and so we're hoping that with all that messaging, that people will see the light, understand the importance, and how they protect themselves, their families, but how we can continue to reopen our economy and get back to some normalcy we all so richly deserve and are looking forward to. Mahalo.
Mahalo. And Mayor Kawakami.
Yeah, we'll be ready on July 8th. In all honesty, it almost looks like we're at capacity or near capacity as far as the amount of visitors. It looks like the economy is roaring back, but for our mom and pops and our restaurants, it is it's good news that they'll be able to add more tables, add more chairs, and serve more customers because they really need that. So we'll be ready.
All right, great. Thank you very much, mayors. And going back to our reporters, we'll go to Nicole Tam, KITV.
This question is for Governor Ige. Governor, so this is all very exciting, but what happens if there is a spike in COVID cases as more people come into the islands?
Thanks for that question, Nicole. We are and will continue to monitor the virus activity here in the state of Hawaii. As you know, the number of new cases has been trending down over the last several weeks, and we do anticipate that it will continue to trend down. Should there be a spike and a sustained spike, we do know that the number of cases varies from day to day, but it really would have to be a trend of upward trend or increasing cases that we would consider and think about whether there needs to be further action. But I think the mayors and I are confident that the case counts are coming down. People are getting vaccinated, and there are fewer and fewer people in our community who continue to be at risk of getting infected.
Thank you, Governor.
Sorry, follow up if that's okay?
Okay,
Sure.
please, reporters, please raise your hand if you do have a follow-up so that I can call on you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't sure. But when you say spike, is that like 100 of cases for days, or what does that mean as far as a spike?
We'll be working with the public health officials. It would have to be a sustained increase or an exponential increase in the number of cases. We're pretty confident because we're at, or will soon be at, in 2 weeks, be at 60% of our community fully vaccinated. We do believe that any increase in the cases will already be mitigated because of the numbers in our community who are fully vaccinated.
All right, going to Wendy Osher, Maui Now. Wendy?
Hi, this question is for the governor. With the vaccination rate somewhat tapering off, what's the anticipated timeline for reaching the milestone 70% vaccination rate?
That's really hard to say at this point. It definitely would be another couple of months, probably 2 months to hit the 70%. We continue to advocate for everyone to get vaccinated. If anyone in the public is aware that there's organizations that have below average vaccination rates, or if there are cases, as you know, we are looking at the vaccination data, and when we see communities that are below the statewide average, we are organizing targeted vaccination opportunities in those communities. We're committed to making it as easy as possible for those in our community to get vaccinated.
And moving on to Civil Beat, Stuart Yurton, go ahead. Stuart, I think you need to unmute.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, this is for Governor Ige and Mayor Blangiardi. What about mask mandates? It's a little confusing. Are people still going to be required to wear masks if they gather indoors? And what about outdoors? And also for the mayor, Blangiardi, can you talk a little bit about how the rules for Honolulu mirror or don't mirror what the governor is doing here? It can be a little bit confusing given two levels of regulation.
Certainly. I forgot the first question again, Stuart.
Yes, thanks, Governor. Yes, masks.
Yes,
Are
masks.
people going to be required to wear masks inside gathering?
Yeah, we are not changing the mask mandate at this point in time, so everyone will be required to wear a mask. We are evaluating that as we move forward, and that's certainly something that we'll be talking with at the Department of Health. But at this point in time, masks are still required. They are not required outdoors. We did change that policy a couple of weeks ago, so masks are not required outdoors. They are continue to be required indoors.
And Mayor Blangiardi?
I'm a little bit confused by the question because candidly, everything we've done has been signed off by the DOH as we progress through the tiers, even on this next level. And so I don't see Honolulu necessarily operating philosophically different than the state. Perhaps there may be some things that are different here than what Mayor Kawakami and Mayor Victorino do and Mayor Roth per se, but we've treated, given the bulk of our population, on all of our tier models and rules, if you will, been direct sign-off by the DOH. So maybe give me an example of what you're talking about. I don't know what you're confused about.
Yeah, and I would just add, Stuart, we have been in conversation. I'm not aware of anything being contradictory, but, clearly there are lots of details. But we work together quite well, and, our staff is in discussions at all times as we examine, specific industries that have unique requirements, or when we discover mitigation actions that might allow different rules to apply in different industries. And I would say, I think for the most part, the neighbor island case counts have been lower, and so they've had less restrictions because there's been less virus activity.
All right, Stuart, you have a follow-up.
No, I just wanted to make sure I'm clear on this. The mayor asked for an example. Mayor Blangiardi, I just wanted to make clear. So everything that the governor's saying also applies to Honolulu.
That's the way it's been. We've been consistent with that. Admittedly, we've tried to negotiate and pushed a little bit during our efforts to take a broader look at public health with respect to our businesses and try to move things forward. But when we get told what the rules are, that's a compliance order, and that's what we've stuck with all throughout. And everyone, the thing I am grateful for that the governor and Dr. Char and Campbell, they've been open-minded. As you know, when we went through the tier 3, we modified 3 different times, and even with tier 4 now moving quickly into tier 5. We've been very consistent.
All right, going to Stephanie Salmons now at Hawaii Tribune Herald. Steph?
Hey, this is for the governor. I was wondering what kind of impact you might think that these changes will have on visitor numbers to Hawaii. I know that tourism is already rebounding. Do you think this will affect things even more?
Well, we do know that there is high demand for travel to Hawaii, and we continue to get concerns from travelers who have been vaccinated, but sometimes have trouble getting to a trusted testing partner or other challenges in getting to the island. So we believe that it'll make it easier for those who have been vaccinated to travel to Hawaii. And we do believe that it will help somewhat in bringing more visitors here. We know that this will help us internationally as well. I have been working with Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and other international destinations. There is high interest in travel to Hawaii, but we continue to work through that and ensure that we have the protocols in place to keep travelers and our community healthy and safe.
All right, thank you, Governor. Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
Aloha, this question is for the governor. The restaurants have said that any increases in capacity don't help them when they have to adhere to 6 feet social distancing. So are there any plans to reduce social distancing? And also just a broad question for the mayors. Are you satisfied with the current pace of reopening?
Yeah, so we continue to work and look at the CDC guidance, especially the guidance that is targeted specifically to various industries. So, generally we are working with the gathering size. It does impact the size of the groups that can go into restaurants to eat. And the overall Tier 5 does provide and allow for restaurants to be at 75% of their physical capacity. So certainly we'll be evaluating other, being able to drop other restrictions as appropriate.
All right, Mayors, did you want to take on her second question, which was, are you satisfied with the current pace of reopening? We'll go to Mayor Victorino first. Mayor?
Thank you. Absolutely. As you know, Maui has grown very rapidly with the recovery as our visitor industry, second bar none to Oahu. And it has taxed some of our infrastructure in other areas, so it is concerning. It's also taxing a lot of our resources, the road to Hana. You've seen all of this. So yes, it's been a mixed bag of good and not so good. So we're working through all of this, but I'm happy with the pace we are. Maybe a little bit too fast for Maui, as I would say. However, we are going to manage it and come out of this Maui Nui strong. So yes, I'm very happy overall. Unless you talk about the quick pace, then I would say I'd like to slow it down. And there's some efforts in that area being made by my administration at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Going over to Kauai, Mayor Kawakami.
Thank you. Yes, we support the governor and we support the hard date that he set. Thank you.
All right, and Mayor Blangiardi.
Well, as I already said, I really wished it had happened sooner, but also, as the governor said, we've been working closely for the last several weeks once we really shifted to the vaccine metric and 55%, 60%, 70%. I just thought and hoped that our community would have responded a little bit sooner. Hopefully, by the end of June, that we would have been there. But so on a personal level, I wish we were already at 60%, but I stand by the decisions that have been made and I'm supportive of the decisions that have been made per the agreement we have. So July 8th it is.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Going now to Dan Nacasto, Star Advertiser. Dan.
Thanks, Jody. Can I ask two clarification questions of everyone? If so, I want to make sure that Governor had talked about lessening levels, and it said it's up to each county, but I just want to clarify. So every mayor is on board with the levels that the governor had announced by July 8th if we reach 60%. Is that an affirmative? And the second is that by 60% level statewide or 60% for each county? Because Oahu's not quite there yet. I just want to make sure I understand all that and what Governor might be able to say about Hawaii County as well, since they're not represented. I just want to make sure I understand all of that.
Yeah, certainly a couple of things. Hawaii County, the island of Hawaii, is fully on board. Mayor Roth has been part of all of our discussions regarding the Tier 5 level and Tier 6 should we get to, or when we get to 70%. Yes, so Dan, what will have to happen is we will issue probably an amendment to our proclamation. I think the mayors will be targeting July 7th, and they will be issuing changes to their emergency orders that reflect the changes in gathering size, the increase in capacity outdoors and indoors. And I noted in my comments that the counties still have more specific guidance regarding weddings and structured events. And so I do know that in regards to group size and maximum capacities, they will be making adjustments as well. In some instances, for weddings, for example, especially on neighbor islands where the case counts were significantly lower, they might actually be above the 75 group size maximum event already. And we're just trying to be able to note that the county rules might be slightly different in some counties, especially the ones that have had very low virus counts.
All right, thank you, Governor. And let's clarify, that's July 8th. We're going to go now to, let's see, I think that's Mayor Kawakami. Go ahead. ahead, Mayor, if you want to chime in.
Well, was there a question? We're ready to we're ready to get on board come July 8th. You know, and this is coming from, you know, the sheep that had strayed away from the herd early on. I tell you, we've come a long way from the beginning of our operation, and you know, things have worked out so much better. We've been so much in sync as far as communication, and so you know, our plan is to get to Tier 5, which looks pretty consistent with the state and with the other counties as well. I think the governor covered it pretty well as far as allowing some flexibility to the counties, and we really appreciate that. The smallest county in the state really appreciates the fact that the governor in the state has realized that, you know, in areas that have lower case counts, that we may be able to work on a case by case with the organized event and the various resorts to start looking at how we can increase their capacity as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Blangiardi, Honolulu. Anything to add?
The only thing I would add is that I think we've been very sensitive to the fact that, you know, we have the population, the critical mass has been here on Oahu, and that's the result of that. That's why we work very closely in step with the DOH and to gain their approval on all the modifications we've made through the various tier movements we've had. So we're comfortable about where we are right now on what Tier 5 represents, and we look forward to getting to 70%.
Thank you, Mayor Blangiardi. And on Maui, Mayor Victorino. I think you have to unmute, Mayor. There you go.
Okay, excuse me, sorry.
No problem.
We've had challenges and continue to face challenges, and I'm very happy with the flexibility the governor and the state has given us in certain areas. And basically, we have been on board all the way. We've played with the team and we've worked with the team, and I think right now we stand extremely well off in some areas. Challenges, yes, that's something I face each and every day, and it's important to take it on. But I have a community that is very responsive, and I'm proud of the team, the community, and all of my assets available, including my medical advisors. So we're good. We're on. Mahalo.
Yeah, and Dan, just to answer your specific question, so we all agreed, the mayors and I agreed, rather than go by the specific vaccination rates in each individual county, that because of safe travels and the need for simple targets and guidelines for gathering size and for maximum group gatherings, we would go by the statewide numbers for vaccination rates, especially as it applies to Tier 5 and then ultimately Tier 6. And so the individual county, and one of the reasons is because we don't have all the data, especially the federal data, is not, it doesn't include all of the specific county data. So we may know that in the pharmacies, 1,000 people got vaccinated last week, but we don't know specifically what counties they might belong to. So we decided to go by the statewide numbers instead of the individual county numbers.
All right. Dan Nicasso, any follow-up there? Go ahead.
No, thank you for that clarification, Governor. So the 60% and the 70% would be based on the statewide average, not the county by county average for these July 8th changes and Tier 6?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Going to Manolo, KHON.
Thank you. This is for the governor, and maybe Mayor Blangiardi can also comment. Just wanted to clarify in raising the capacity of restaurants to 75%. So you're saying that they still need to follow that 6-foot physical distance? Because I know it's been for a lot of restaurants, that particular requirement is hard for them to actually basically increase their capacity.
Certainly that is what the specific guidelines entails. we continue to work with the industry as well as the mayor's office to evaluate whether there can be other mitigation efforts that would allow for increased capacity. We do know that that's a big concern in many instances.
Mayor Blangiardi, did you have anything to add?
Well, not to be contrary to that. I just think that if we're going to go to 75% capacity, at some point the math doesn't work. So, realistically speaking, I've been in a number of restaurants where I don't think the table seating has been 6 feet apart. If we go to 75% capacity, it's, I think the restaurants, what we're asking for is they will space their tables accordingly to the best of their ability, and it'll be what it'll be. I think that's what happens there in that situation.
Right, thank you, Mayor. Nicole Tam, KITV, go ahead.
Sorry, I was muted. I have a question for the governor. Wanted to know, are close contact sports like high school football allowed to resume under these new guidelines, or do we have to wait until vaccinations rate reach 70%?
We are working with the youth sports organizations to implement appropriate mitigation measures, and we'll continue to do that. For those youth sports that are eligible for vaccinations, they would have more options that would continue to allow that the participants and the parents can be safe when it comes to the health. In terms of school-related activities, we are working with the Department of Health for specific guidance as we get closer to the start of the sports activity. So, those announcements will be made later on.
Looks like we have, Nicole, did you have a follow-up there?
Yeah, actually, this was from Manolo's question on the restaurant. So it sounds like, Governor, there is still 6 feet distancing involved. Mayor Blangiardi says that at that point, spaces will be set accordingly. So what does that mean? Which one is it? How do we know, or how do restaurant people know?
Yeah, certainly, and we'll be working more closely with the Restaurant Association to reconcile. I do think that the specific CDC guidance is that they should provide maximum spaces between the tables, and we definitely need to reconcile if there is a difference about spacing in regards to 75% capacity.
All right, thank you very much, Governor. Manolo, KHON, go ahead. Manolo, can you unmute, please?
This is for the governor, and with the Delta variant still very much a concern on the mainland as well as over here, and if that continues to spread as expected in the fall, is there a way? Do you have a backup plan for as far as reaching this 70%, where you will basically consider maybe not hitting that 70%? Because of the Delta variant spreading?
Well, I think it's separate but related questions, Manolo. We are committed to the 70% threshold. All of the mayors and I and Dr. Char and Dr. Kemble have really talked about at which level of vaccination within our community would we believe that the risk of spread of COVID would be significantly reduced that would allow us to drop the restrictions. So they do feel comfortable at 70% of our community being fully vaccinated that we could remove all restrictions. When we look at specific virus activities and the Delta variant, it is very concerning. As you are aware, it's definitely easier to transmit, and it does spread faster through communities. It does appear, although the science is still working on the issue of whether it makes people sicker or whether it increases the fatality rate of COVID-19. But so Manolo, we believe that at 70% we would drop all restrictions. Should there be an outbreak and should we see high disease counts for a sustained period of time, then if necessary, we would look at what restrictions would we need to put in place in order to effectively control that outbreak. And, you know, there's a lot of things. We still believe that masks are very effective, so it might involve, again, encouraging or requiring mask wearing or other mitigation strategies. You know, it does make a difference if the community is 70% fully vaccinated, and we would be looking at other kinds of restrictions to control any future outbreak of the virus.
All right, moving on to Stuart Yurton, Civil Beat. Stuart?
Yes, this is for Governor Ige. Governor, have you considered factoring in the people who have had COVID and gotten well and have some level of immunity, by some counts, in some accounts, more maybe than people who've been vaccinated, but at least some level, and factoring those in, we hear it's maybe 5%, and that would push us over 65% and maybe towards 70. Can you talk about why not do that and why not count those folks?
Well, we do consider those who have gotten COVID and recovered, and that's factored actually into the 60 and 70% vaccination rates that we already reflect. You know, Dr. Kemble and Dr. Char was thoughtful in how those should be considered. And one of the recommendations, and maybe we're not emphasizing it enough, it is recommended that even those who got COVID and recovered from it and probably have antibodies that protects them, the health community is recommending that those individuals get vaccinated still yet. They do believe that the vaccine can provide additional protections to those who have gotten COVID already. And so certainly we would encourage those who already had COVID to get vaccinated if they have not already been vaccinated.
All right. Stuart has a follow-up. Stuart, was that your hand?
Yes, it is. Thanks, Jody. Yes. So just to clarify, Governor, so those people are already counted in that 60%.
Well,
that we're heading toward.
You know, the fact that they have been, they've gotten COVID and have some level of protection has been considered when Dr. Char and Dr. Kemble, when we were talking about at what level would we feel comfortable relaxing the restrictions, you know, to create Tier 5 and then ultimately to create Tier 6.
I see. Okay.
All right, thanks, Stuart. And I see Mahelani, H&N.
Thanks, Jody. When you talk about removing restrictions at 70%, can you say, Governor, that would mean definitively removing the indoor mask mandate or even allowing people to go to a large indoor gathering like a concert or a convention?
Yes, and certainly, Mahelani, we would encourage people to be smart. I think we've all seen the value of wearing masks. I do know that I continue to wear my mask even when I'm outdoors, even though I'm not required to. So I think that we've all gotten a little better about understanding the actions that we can personally take. But as far as mandates, then yes, at 70%, we would drop the mandates.
All right. Any other questions? I don't see any virtual hands right now.
So thank you so much for helping us. You know, we are rapidly approaching 60% of our community fully vaccinated, and beginning July 8th, you will see a relaxation in the areas that we've talked about. Really want to encourage everyone to help us get to 70% vaccinated. You know, if you have friends or family that you discover is not vaccinated, please encourage them to get their questions answered. The Hawaii website has upgraded and provided a lot more responses to the questions that we've been having from individuals across the state. We've been working with all the primary care physicians, advanced practice nurses, others who are the primary care healthcare professionals, and clearly talk to your doctor if you have remaining questions. We will get back to normal when we all get vaccinated. So thanks for everybody. Please, Hawaii got vaccinated. Please get vaccinated. Aloha and mahalo.
And that was Governor Ige and the county mayors on new changes to the COVID emergency rules. Because the state is nearing 60% vaccinated, the governor says he is expanding Hawaii's vaccine passport to fully vaccinated mainland travelers on July 8th. That means those passengers will no longer need to have a negative COVID test before their flight. The governor says travelers must upload their vaccination records to the Safe Travels website and bring their hard copies with them. Also changing July 8th, restrictions on social gatherings will be easing. For indoor groups, 25 people will be allowed. That's up from 10. For outdoor gatherings, it will be raised from 25 people to 75. The Gov says these changes do not affect the county's rules on events and weddings. Restaurants will also be allowed to return to 75% capacity. Right now, 57% of the state is fully vaccinated. At 70%, the governor says all COVID restrictions will be lifted. That includes the mask mandate. He said he believes Hawaii could reach that point in about 2 months. Now to the coronavirus numbers. The state is reporting 55 new infections today and no new fatalities. The breakdown by island shows 6 cases on the Big Island, 7 on Kauai, that was reported by the county yesterday, 10 on Maui, 1 on Molokai, 29 on Oahu, and 2 residents were diagnosed out of state.
We have new details today on that driver who plunged into Hilo Harbor yesterday. Police say he has been arrested for DUI. Take a look at this video, and for our podcast listeners, I'm going to do my best to describe it to you. First responders and bystanders trying to rescue the unconscious man inside the car. Police say they stopped the car from sinking by tying a rope to the pier. They eventually got the man out through an open window.
So, we tried to float the car. My wife made the first 911 call. We started to hear the sirens coming, and so I knew that there were first responders, and we were just literally trying to keep him above water. He did not look good. He was completely lifeless. I could see his throat, so I knew he was alive and he was breathing. But the car was sinking. The engine was taking it down into the water, and so we were literally holding the ropes up as hard as we could.
The man was taken to Hilo Medical, where he regained consciousness. He did not suffer any serious injuries. Police say he has been arrested for driving without a valid license and other traffic offenses. He has been released as authorities continue to investigate this case. The car has been towed away.
A Senate Judiciary Committee hearing got heated when Texas Senator Ted Cruz lashed out at Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono, who accused him of mansplaining and misrepresenting her line of questioning.
I have to follow originalism in the cases where it is appropriate.
But do you agree with Senator Hirono's
Senator's time has expired.
That those are the reasons?
The senator's time has expired. Senator Padilla is recognized for 5 minutes.
This is a committee where we've had a little bit of comedy, and I recognize Senator Ossoff is new, but we generally don't have the chairman trying to jump in 30 seconds in.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much.
The chairman may not want these questions answered.
Floor's mine.
Point of personal privilege, Mr. Chairman.
There'll be order in the Judiciary Committee. Senator Cruz, your comment is noted, and Senator Padilla.
Chairman,
Thank you,
point of
Mr. Chair.
personal privilege.
Chairman Ossoff
Padilla,
does not want these questions answered.
Point of personal privilege.
Senator Hirono.
I would request that my colleague, Senator Cruz, not misstate what I'm saying. And you know what? All this mansplaining, please stop. Thank you.
Also in D.C., House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced this morning that she will create a select committee to look into the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. This comes after Senate Republicans blocked the creation of an independent commission to investigate what led up to the deadly insurrection.
Again, January 6th was one of the darkest days in our nation's history. I've said it now 3 times. It is imperative that we establish the truth of that day and ensure that an attack of that kind cannot happen and that we root out the causes of it all.
Here at home, we have a traffic update to tell you about. The Board of Water Supply has finally assessed the damage on the 42-inch water main under the Moanalua Freeway. We're told there's a 5-inch hole all the way at the bottom of the pipe, which is 30 feet underground. This is a live look at the freeway right now. There's still no estimate on when repairs will be completed. Water service is not affected.
New at noon, Time Magazine is taking a closer look at the politics behind teaching American history. Here, I want to show you this. The History Wars, the politics of teaching America's past, is the magazine's latest cover story. It focuses on the debate over critical race theory. Republican governors in at least 5 states have banned its teaching or restricted the way students learn history. The issues surrounding racism and violence in the U.S. are more prevalent in light of the Black Lives Matter movement and the aftermath of George Floyd's death. Many educators and parents are concerned incidents like the 1921 race massacre in Tulsa or the Chinese massacre of 1871 in Los Angeles are being left out of American history classes. There's new reports out that say China will keep border restrictions in place for another year. Here's CNN's David Culver.
China's expected to keep its strict pandemic border controls in place for another year. This according to the Wall Street Journal, which cites people familiar with the matter. This essentially means that travel in and out of this country will remain limited to certain visas and COVID-19 protocols, such as government quarantine and Chinese vaccinations. The Journal reports that officials are hesitant to ease those restrictions because of 2 major events slated for next year: the Beijing 2022 Olympics in February and China's Communist Party Congress, where every 10 years the transition of power takes place. Though it's widely expected President Xi Jinping will stay past the customary 2-term limit. CNN was in Wuhan as the virus began to spread and just before the city went on lockdown early last year. Chinese officials were quick to criticize the U.S. and other Western nations for shutting off their borders to people traveling from China. But by mid-March 2020, as China began to successfully contain the virus, officials here sealed the country off from so-called imported threats. It's since enacted strict contact tracing, mass testing, localized lockdowns, and vaccine rollout, allowing life within this secured bubble to return to near normal. But fears that the virus could spread rapidly again weigh heavily, given China is unlikely to reach herd immunity until late this year or early next year. Officials have been hesitant to relax border restrictions and risk another widespread outbreak. David Culver, CNN, Shanghai.
Thank you, David, very much for that update. Hey, check out our new digs here.
I know, I like
sharp,
it.
Right? I'm loving it. Well, know who else is always looking sharp? That's our guy, Hoggy. Let's turn it over to him.
How's it on this Thursday? We're still cyclone-free in the Central Pacific. Things are looking good, and the trade winds are still in control. So we have a few minor splashes this morning. Overall, it's mostly dry, especially for leeward sides. And those trade winds will be coming up at about 10 to 15 miles an hour today. Not strong at all, but they'll be strong enough to limit the humidity levels from going through the roof. So we're in for a really nice day today with lots of sunshine, a few minor splashes for a handful of windward areas, especially early, but in the afternoon should be mostly dry. No weather alerts to speak of, but watch out. Lots of sunshine means that UV index is at extreme levels. Now the surf's going to be rising to some extent for south and west shores. Not a big one, but a small bump coming into south and west shores. Another weekend pulse is expected over in the country. The other thing to watch out for, extremely low tide this morning, going really fat this afternoon, and that will make the waves a little bit more inconsistent. So we got trade wind weather today, nice stuff. And then we lose the trade winds tonight. Light and variable winds take over for Friday and Saturday, and that means higher humidity levels. Going to be a little sticky this time. Also some spotty afternoon showers. And then on Sunday into next week, the trade winds pick up again. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
All right, let's take a quick look at what the internet is talking about. Netflix is introducing a new dating show called Sexy Beast. That's right.
What?
It takes looks out of the equation. Each episode features a single person going on 3 blind dates, but everyone is hidden behind these weird animal makeup and prosthetics. Real faces will only be revealed after a match is made. It's based on a popular British series, and the 6-episode season debuts July 21st, and it must be good because Netflix has already renewed it for a 2nd season.
Reminds me of The Masked Singer a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to take that seriously as the single person on the show.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us on our debut edition from our brand new H&N Digital Center. We'll be back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.